So welcome to episode 5 of Beyond the 90. We've got a special guest with us this week, Matt Piper. You right, Matt?
How are you, chaps?
Yeah, not bad. We've got Neel with us as usual. You okay, Neel?
I'm good, James. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. And we've got Anthony with us as well. You all right, Ant?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate.
So let's get started. Leicester City, Matt, beloved club that obviously us three love. So your debut was a thrashing of 6-0 by Leeds United in the Cup, I believe.
It was. Thanks for reminding me, James. No, it was. And it came out of the blue, to be honest, because Peter Taylor was the manager and he didn't like me and I didn't like him. And he was sort of saying to me just before that game, literally 2 weeks before that game, I think, that the club were going to offer me a new contract, but with a proviso that they'd sell me within a year to a League 2, League 1 club because they didn't think I could play Premier League football. So Gary Parker took over as soon as he got sacked, and Gary Parker loved me. He was my reserve team manager. So that's how I got my debut, because Gary Parker took over for that Leeds game. And then we did get slapped.
What was it like, though, first time stepping out there in front of everyone?
Well, it was amazing, obviously. It was, I don't know, it was a little weird because I've been at the club since I was 7 or 8 years old. And I did some weird things building up to that game. I went, on the way to the game, I was nervous, but not too nervous. It was the great Leeds side of Viduka, Rio Ferdinand, Harry Kewell. They had amazing players. But on the way to the ground, I stopped in town at JJB Sports. And I bought a new pair of Nikes because I wanted to wear some new shiny boots. And all players will tell you that is unheard of. You shouldn't be playing in brand new boots, especially on your debut, until you've like broke them in training. But I just thought I wanted to do it. I wanted to look the part. The crowd started singing Pipinio after about 15 minutes, which was unbelievable. And the brilliant thing about that night is I played against a guy called Ian Hart. And Ian Hart is an unbelievable footballer. He's a left back, he's left-footed, great player, but he hasn't got any speed. He's very, very slow. Yeah. So every time I got the ball, I was just like Forrest Gump. I just smashed it by him and just ran by him and crossed the ball. And I ended up getting man of the match in that game, even though we lost 6-0.
That's good then. Was that the Leeds team that got to the semi-final of the Champions League?
It was. It was. So they had Olivier Decourt. Oh. They had unbelievable footballers. Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, I remember that team.
They had really, really good team. And but it was good. It was good, and I loved every second of it. And what I will tell you is that yes, it was 6-0 and we got hammered, but I loved every second of it. And because I had done well,
yeah,
this sounds a little bit selfish, but I think in football, when you're growing up as a youngster, imagine you're 7 years old and you want to play for Leicester City. You get all the way to your dream and then you get beat 6-0. I didn't get interviewed that night, but if I did, I wouldn't have been giving these cliche interviews that footballers give now. They would have been like, oh, yeah, it's not about me, it's about the team. Yeah. I can't believe we lost. I would have said, no, I was buzzing because I had played well. You know, you're working for 10, 15 years to achieve a dream. And when you do it and you realise that you can play at that level, it's a really important thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I believe you were born Anstey?
No, Birstall, actually.
Oh, Birstall.
Yeah, I went to school in Anstey.
Yeah, because I know quite a few people, I think they were a year above you, remember you. And then I saw you play for Anstey Nomads.
Yeah, I went back there after I finished playing football.
Because my brother going back to Anstey? Was that a bit strange, though, going to Anstey Nomads? Because obviously you probably grew up near there.
Yeah, it was. I knew a couple of the players in the team because I had grown up in that. Well, I didn't. I grew up in Beaumont Leys.
Yeah.
But my mum didn't want me hanging around with the lads that I was hanging around with in Beaumont Leys all day, every day, and at school. So she drove me to Anstey every day.
Okay.
Because she wanted to get me a better education. Because my catchment school was either Beaumont Leys or Babington.
Okay.
and she didn't want me doing that. So she drove me to Anstey. So when I left football, my brother played for Anstey Nomads.
Okay.
And I went to watch a game one day, and I didn't want to get involved. They had been asking me to sign for a while, but I didn't want to get involved because I didn't want to be the guy that, he used to be an ex-Premier League footballer, and then he turns up and now I've lost my space in the team. I didn't want that.
Okay.
But I turned up one day and they only had 10 players. So he said, the manager said, will you play? And I said, what, ain't you got no subs? And he was like, no. And he had already signed me on a few weeks before. So I said, okay, I'll play. And I played and I was awful. I was shocking. But the great thing, and I'm never big time. Like a lot of footballers are big time, but I've never been big time. It doesn't sit comfortably with me. But this is one of the only times in my life I was big time, and it was a game of this kind of level.
Yeah.
One of the lads I was playing against, I think it was 1-1 at the time.
Yeah.
And he was sort of caning me all match. You're shocking. How did you ever play in the Premier League? Going like this. So I thought, all right. So I got the ball about 85 minutes and I thought, I'm going to do something here. So I dropped a shoulder, I came inside, I took 2 or 3 on, and then I shanked it in the bushes over the back of Anstey Nomads. and the lad was caning me. And this was obviously hurting me. So I said to him, why are you even caning me? You don't even know who I am. And he said, yes, I do. You're Matt Piper. And I said, that's funny because I ain't got a clue what your name is. That's the only time I was big time in my career. And then 2 minutes later, I scored the winner. And then I never played for him again.
That sounds an eventful game. So going back to Leicester City, obviously you scored the last goal at Filbert Street. I remember it well. That must have been a huge highlight of your career.
You there, James?
You are?
Was you there?
Yes, I was. Loved it.
Oh, good lad.
I'm a bit older than the other two. I remember being in the Cop watching us thrash Cambridge City 5-0 in the playoff semi-finals.
Wow.
And games like that. So yeah, I was there. It was amazing. It must have been amazing for you as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't want to come on this podcast and think that I fell out with every single manager, but at the time, so when I did get in the first team, I was playing in the Premier League on £375 a week. Like that would be unheard of now. Some of the under 23 squad at Leicester City now are on 7-8 grand a week. So I was playing in the Premier League on £375 a week. And I played the first 15 games under Dave Bassett and Mickey Adams. Yeah. And then, so I thought, and my contract was coming to an end at the end of the year. So Dave Bassett called me in to do a new contract. And it was about 6 days before the Tottenham game. And I said to him, Dave, I went in with an agent at start, and the agent asked for £5 grand a week, which is not a lot for a 20-year-old that was doing well in the Premier League. Yeah. And Dave Bassett dressed us down, and he almost chucked the agent out. Yeah. And he said, "You're better off getting your dad to come down here and speak to me, because that agent's being ridiculous at £5 grand a week." So I called my dad, and he came down. Yeah. And then my dad come in, and he's like sort of old school London, and he's like, "Listen, Mr. Bassett, this boy has never asked for as much as a chocolate biscuit at this football club in all his life. You've got to pay him what he deserves." And Dave Bassett said, "Listen, we'll give him £2.5 grand a week, but he's got to score before the end of the season." So I was like, all right, deal. So I shook his hand and we went out. And then my old man in the car park was like, "Listen, you got to score against Tottenham." And I was like, because that was the last game of the season. Yeah. So I wasn't thinking that it would be the last ever goal at Filbert Street. I was thinking I just need to score to get this new contract that I wanted.
A great story. So what was it like going to the new ground compared to the old one?
Well, Filbert Street, I thought, had so much atmosphere. Yeah. You know, I used to be a ball boy there from 1989. From 1989, I used to be a ball boy down Filbert Street, sitting in front of that little shed end where all the away fans sat. Yeah. Awful, really. It weren't a very good ground. Like, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, was it?
No.
but it adds so much atmosphere. And the Carling stand, the cop, the family stand at the other end, it was amazing. So I didn't think, especially when we played in that first game at the King Power, I think it was called the Walker's Bowl then when we opened it. Yeah. The Walker Stadium. It didn't have that kind of atmosphere. But now it has grown that again, hasn't it? You can tell.
Yeah, I think you're right. I started off in the double-decker at Filbert Street, right up in the gods. And then
that's where I used to sit.
And then as I got older, moved into the Cop, and the Cop atmosphere was just unbelievable at times. You got the East Stand next to you with the away fans. And I think, like you say, it wasn't one of the best stadiums in the world, but sound-wise, it was just immense when you're in there.
It had a lot of character. I think it had a lot of character. The people that worked there, the sort of, especially a lot of the stewards. I got very friendly with a lot of the stewards, and it was just a good place to be. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it was. I enjoyed it there. I'm going to hand over to Neel, and I know Neil's got a few questions for you.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to move it on slightly to Southampton and your time there as well. So I remember listening to an interview where you said one of the times that you met David Beckham, and then at times, because I've been listening to BBC Radio Leicester a lot, and they've always said they've commented on your smell, in a non-creepy way anyway. So is that influenced at all by the time you met David Beckham, or is that something you've always wore cologne and smelled good?
No, I have. Let me just correct you, Neel. It's not Southampton, it was Sunderland.
Sorry, Sunderland,
yeah, I know why you're saying Southampton, because I nearly signed for them as well. It was between Southampton and Sunderland when I was leaving Leicester, and in the end I chose Sunderland. And no, it's always been a thing with me. You won't be old enough, Neel, but there was a fragrance that came out when I was about 16 or 17. So I'm talking 1996, 97. It was called Dupe, and Dupe was like a fruity smelling aftershave, and I loved it when it first came. It was expensive, but I loved it, and I started wearing that, and you got attention from girls. You got attention from guys as well. Like, yo, where'd you get your aftershave from? And I always used to like that kind of, because if someone smells good, they look good, they present themselves well, I think it's a good factor in life. So, and I noticed that in others. And that's the reason why I talk about when I was in that lift with David Beckham, because I'm very good with my nose. Normally, if I smelled you, Neel, and I was like, oh, he's wearing such and such, or he's wearing, that's what I'm sort of like. So when I was in that lift with David Beckham and he smelled good, I was like, this geezer looks after himself. Now, I like that in an individual. But yeah, I've always been like that. Probably, since then, 14, when you're 14, 15 and you're playing football down the park for hours and you're stinking like B.O. and that smell. Ever since then, I've always wanted to smell fresh whenever I go into anywhere.
Fair enough. That was just something that I listened to. I can't remember, Under the Cosh that you were on. And so it's something that I picked. Yeah. And then you were introduced on there. So something that I picked on. I thought that was awesome. But what was it like? Have you managed to meet like somebody else like David Beckham after that and get the chance to like, I don't know, experience your first time? Because I imagine you were like shell shocked almost. So it's just there's somebody that big in that position.
Yeah, no, never. I think I've played against him twice, maybe 3 times. But that's the only time I was very close to him. But the day before that game, I don't know if I said this on Under the Cosh. The day before that game, I had only just signed for Sunderland recently. And Sunderland, when they sign players, they put them up in a hotel, a Marriott hotel in Durham. And they pay for your stay there for 3 months until you can find a house and settle down up there. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we stayed in this hotel, and it happened to be the Man United hotel for them to stay in the night before the match. So Rio Ferdinand come to my room because we had a mutual friend And they said, oh, Pipes is staying in that room. So Rio Ferdinand said, oh, what's his room number? So Rio Ferdinand came to my room and he was like, oh, it's going to be good tomorrow. I'm playing against you. I hope we don't beat you last time like we beat you 6-0, because he had moved from Leeds to Man United within this time. So I was buzzing. And then what I always used to like to do the night before a big match was go for like a 2-3 mile walk. I always used to do it. I have dinner and then I go for a walk, just calm myself down, stretch my legs. And we went downstairs in the hotel and I had forgot my phone. So I went back upstairs, and when I came back downstairs, my missus was standing down by the river, because it's over a river, and she was staring at something over the other side of the river. So I was like, what's she looking at? So I looked up and it was David Beckham in the window in a pair of pants waving to her. I was like, what are you doing? Mate, I was going nuts. I was like, what are you doing waving at him? Like that. And as soon as he seen me, he shut the curtain really quick. So when people talk to me now and they say that, do you think Beck's ever cheated on Victoria? 100%. He's a playboy, I'm telling you now.
He can't be with that kind of status, because it's even everywhere he goes in the world he's known. Like, there's only a few footballers that are really known. Even the Americans know. Even back in the day, David Beckham was one of the names that were just known everywhere.
A lot of people say that to me. What I would say to that is, I don't think Beckham would do it with anyone. He would do it with someone who's got as much to lose as he has.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Fair enough. Thanks for that, Matt. That's really appreciated.
So going back to Leicester, Matt, who did you room with when you were away?
At Leicester City, I used to room with Jordan Stuart.
And how was that?
Yeah, no, top man. I spoke to him. I think I spoke to him yesterday. Actually, he lives in San Jose now, in America. But if you want him to come on the show, I'm sure he would. I could give him a shout for you and ask him.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Good to have him.
He's very good.
He's probably got some good stories about you as well.
No, he'll have a lot of stories about me. I've got one about him, because when he signed for the club, we signed him from Aston Villa. Aston Villa released him at 16, and the first training session I ever seen him in, I could tell why Aston Villa released him. Because he was awful. Honestly, he was shocking. And it was about 6 months, and I kept looking at him and I thought, he don't even run like a footballer. He don't look like a footballer. He's not got a good touch. He's not very quick. But what he did have was an unbelievable confidence in himself at that age, at 16. And I think that helped him, grow and develop, because if you're very confident in a certain area and you keep it up, you can almost trick yourself at times. And then Jordan actually played for the first team before me. And it was like, wow, this kid, who I thought at 16 had no hope. Yeah. He was that confident, and his sort of skills came afterwards. And then he turned into an unbelievable footballer with an outstanding career. He really did do really well. Yeah,
I can well believe it. So moving on a little bit. So Sunderland, I saw today when I was trying to read through your bio that you're a bit injury prone at Sunderland.
I'm injury prone everywhere I go. Not just at Sunderland. I think I had 4 operations before I went to Sunderland at Leicester. But obviously, because I wasn't playing in the first team, when I had some of these operations, they're not spoken about as much. But because I was a big money move to Sunderland, and you get injured, then it's spoken about, and then you get injured again. And I think to date, I've had 19 knee operations, 3 hernia operations, 3 ankle operations, and a wisdom tooth out.
That's brilliant. And have you got any questions for Matt around Sunderland? I think you had a few.
It was more about sort of when you first moved to Sunderland, because obviously you were so used to Leicester and stuff. So how was it adjusting to a new club and sort of a new city and a new environment?
Well, that's a good question, and because it was very difficult for me. I've not really spoken about this before because no one's ever asked me. But you know, the Leicester that I grew up in. So you know, the culture of Leicester, how multicultural Leicester is, and you know, I was born here. I was born at the Royal Infirmary. My mum and dad lived in Birstall at the time, but then we moved to Beaumont Leys for some reason when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in Beaumont Leys. Then I went Anstey school. Then I went Quorn. All this time I'm playing for Leicester City since I was 8. So Leicester was like, you know how some people are called a home bird?
Yeah.
He's a home bird. He likes all the things around his home. He likes his mum. You know, that's where you feel most comfortable. That's what I was like. So, and that's why I was so against moving away from Leicester. But obviously, in the end, I had to go because the club said that they would go into administration if I didn't leave. So it was difficult for me. So when I first got to Sunderland, it was very alien. There were no other people that looked like me there. There was none. There was Phil Babb, who played for Sunderland. But other than that, you know, driving the streets, staying in the hotel I told you about, the Marriott, where I was staying, the supporters in the crowd, that nothing reminded me of home. But what I will say is, even though it was hard for me and uncomfortable, the people there made it special. The people in the north are so much more friendly, I think, than the people down, you know, I wouldn't say the Midlands. I think the Midlands is quite friendly. I think the further south you go, it's more, people stay more to themselves and try and stay insulated. They don't want to mix with other people. But in the north, it was really friendly. So yes, it was really difficult to start, but within 6 months, when I started to understand how friendly people were and how, you know, how nice they were, it became a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting to hear. Thank you.
No worries, mate.
So moving on to newer times, the academy, how's that going in these times? Because it must be difficult for everyone.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I actually run it with a guy called Owen Johnson. And Owen Johnson is my business partner, who is Darnell Johnson's dad.
Okay.
Now, Darnell Johnson is the captain of the under-23s at Leicester City. And Owen, his dad, used to be a Meals strike partner in the youth team and the reserves at Leicester City before Emil made it.
Yeah.
So there's a connection there with Leicester as well. But he's the coach of the football, and he's still been coaching the lads online. And all the education is done online. So to be honest, it's not been too difficult. I'm sort of the guy who owns the academy, yes, but I sit in the background making sure all the paperwork's done, making sure all the life skill programs are in place. I'm sort of like the John Rudkin of the FSD Academy.
You're the one that makes it tick.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I've eased John up over the years, because when things were going wrong after we won the Premier League, or just before we won the Premier League, and people were sort of calling for his head, I wasn't one of them people calling for his head, but I was one of them people thinking, yeah, he's not doing enough. He needs to do more.
Yeah.
But now, having owned my own academy and sort of in the position that John's been at Leicester City, I realise what a difficult job it is.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And how's MPTV going?
MPTV is retired.
Oh.
To be honest, yeah. It's something that I did before I did the radio. I did it for 2 or 3 years before I did the radio. Really enjoyed it, loved it, learnt a lot. That's one thing that I will say about MPTV is that, because naturally, people don't believe this when I say it, but naturally, I'm not shy in a social aspect. So if I'm at a party, I'm not shy and things like that. But things like talking on a radio, talking to the TV, talking in a Zoom meeting like this, talking on a podcast, I'm quite shy. I get quite nervous thinking, oh God, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But MPTV allowed me to sort of bring that out of myself and took me to a new level. And so I'll always be pleased that I started that channel.
Okay, that's good news. So mental health, we're always going to touch on this. I suffer from anxiety and depression, find it difficult at times. Hearing stories like yours has helped me a lot, talking to people, etc. Have you got any advice for anyone that's struggling with it in these times? Because I know my anxiety's got a lot worse since this lockdown started.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there's a few things that I would say. If anyone noticed, and it was very difficult for me because when this lockdown first started, I sort of contemplated in my head. I knew what I had to do for my own self well-being, and that was be busy. If I'm not busy and I've not got a focus and I've not got a path, that's when my anxiety, my depression, my mind starts racing all over the place, and it starts to unravel a little bit.
Yeah. But
at the same time, I thought, if I'm so constant on social media with the charity work that I did, with the MPTV that I brought back out of retirement with my young son, with the podcast that I was doing, with the former footballers, people thought, oh, he's just trying to hog the limelight to try and bring the attention on himself. I sort of had that in my mind, that people would think that I was doing it because of that.
Okay.
But it was totally selfish reasons. It was because I believe that if you've created a pathway and you've got a focus and keep yourself busy, that can help a lot. Because my times of depression and anxiety, and when my life started unraveling, all came when I didn't have a focus. It was straight after football. I didn't have a focus. I didn't know what to do with myself. My main focus was getting up in the mornings and watching Jeremy Kyle.
Yeah.
Now, when that becomes your main focus, you've got big problems. And I think it was actually Jeremy Kyle and all the people that I watched on that show with all their problems that made my problems worse. And that's ultimately why I ended up drinking myself to oblivion. So I think you need a focus. I think you need to try and stay on a pathway with that focus. And yeah, I mean, that is the main one for me. If I've got focus, I'm okay. I'm okay. And if I do feel anything coming on, because I think that's an important thing to say to people as well. You know, you can wake up some days and you just don't feel right.
Yeah.
And it's not physically, it's mentally. And you think, I'm not feeling great today. And at that point, you can try and shift that thought process. And the easiest way for me to shift that thought process is to exercise or to do something where I have to exert myself, because most of the time that can click me out of that thought process, and then I get back into the focus, and then I continue like that.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same. If I focus, I'm okay. It's when I stop and think and have my own thoughts that my anxiety seems to come back and seems to take a little bit of control. So I have to make sure my days are planned and I've got focus throughout that day. Yeah,
without doubt. And I think the fact, I mean, James, when you come off this call and you have shared that information with me, and me and you don't know each other well, I think that's a real positive that can help as well. That's one of the biggest things for me. If I'm feeling low or I need to talk to someone, even if it's a stranger, if I'm sharing, it's helping me without doubt.
Okay, totally agree with what you're saying. So moving on to Project Restart, I know on our podcast, we seem to have had a few different views over the last few weeks around should it start, shouldn't it start? Is it right that we're paying for all these tests when obviously at the time the NHS weren't getting all the tests they needed? So we've also been watching the Bundesliga as well, you know, to try and see what it's like. So for you, Matt, as a footballer, are your performance levels higher when there's a crowd there, when you've got someone behind you?
I think there naturally will be. I really do, because, you know, the energy that a crowd can bring, and that's why we use the analogy of 12th man.
Yeah.
You know, they can be the 12th man. And when footballers talk like that, it's not because they're just trying to please the people that are listening to their interview. They're saying that because they did feel that energy come from the crowd. You know, the season we won it and we had the clappers, and everyone was getting behind people. It can give you that extra 10% sometimes you need in a challenge, in a foot race with an opponent. So it is going to be different. There's no doubt without a crowd there. But the good thing is it's the same for everyone. So it's not like someone's been, you know, a crowd has been banned because their team has been racist or whatever. So you only get the home fans there or whatever. Yeah. There's no fans there at all. So it's just down to pure ability and energy. I think energy is going to be huge because when you're flagging as an older player or a player that's getting on a little bit, what I believe is that energy from the crowd can give you that little bit extra to keep going. Now that's not going to be there anymore. The good thing Leicester City have, they've got a young, vibrant squad.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a few older players. Jamie Vardy's kept himself in great shape. Christian Fuchs has. It looks like Wes Morgan has. Yeah. I was fearing for Wes a little bit, to be honest, in the lockdown, because he's getting a little bit older. I thought he might be at home eating too much chicken and dumpling and things like that. But I seen the pictures of him when he came back, and he looks in good shape. So I think the advantage Leicester have got is they've got a mostly young, vibrant squad, and I think that will go a long way, and I think we will finish in the top 4.
Do you think this will be an equaliser in terms of, like you say, the big squads and the small squads? And so, for example, a Norwich are playing, say, a Man United, for example, and because Man United haven't got that crowd of 60,000 odd people, and that Norwich haven't, so it's kind of, and now you're playing at a neutral ground. Do you think that will help Norwich in a way to try and, obviously, I don't think they've got much chance of getting out of the relegation zone, but do you think that'll help equalise things to ways we've not seen before?
Yeah, I think it will. I really do think it will, because when you are a Norwich or a Leicester City or someone like that, and you go into these big grounds, you know, Brendan Rodgers has talked about it earlier on in the season. It's learning to play on that big stage. So when you're a footballer, you don't actually think, unless it's an unbelievable player. If you're playing against Messi, that would probably mess with my head. Yeah. But if you're going to play against Barcelona, it's not necessarily just Messi you're thinking about. You're thinking of the stadium, the crowd. Barcelona, they've won this many Champions Leagues. They've won this many La Ligas. Yeah. You're building them up in your head. Huge. It's not the actual individual players. So now, when a Norwich go and play a Man United, it's just in most footballers' heads. I believe it's 11 against 11. It's me against this geezer. Don't matter what his name is. There's no crowd here. There's no huge stadium. It's not the theatre of dreams. So I think it could be an equaliser, Neel. I think you're right on that one.
Yeah, so in terms of players like James Madison and Hamza Chowdhury specifically, do you think these kind of players will really thrive off that? I know you were saying that these are younger players and they can really come into their prime. And do you think we had earlier in the season, we saw where we went to Man United and the players just looked overwhelmed and a bit scared of kind of the atmosphere of Theatre of Dreams. So do you think this, especially with the squad that we have with like Hamza's not flying into challenges as much, he's trying to push himself on and become a better player, this lockdown period or this time off, is this going to help him eventually in the long run?
I think so. I mean, what I tried to do, I've been asked this question before recently, and what I tried to do is think, if this was me, just after I broke into the Leicester side, and the coronavirus hits, and I've just impressed all the people around the Premier League and the Leicester City fans and my manager, and people are talking about me, and then all of a sudden it stops because of coronavirus, what would be the natural thing? And the natural thing would be, I can't wait to get back. I hope the gaffer starts me. I hope he plays me in all these games, because every single game is going to be played on TV somewhere or other. I hope he starts me, and if he does, I'm going to be flying into more challenges. I'm going to have a better first touch. That's how I would be thinking in a lockdown as a footballer. So I really do think you're going to see some of these younger guys get a chance, number one. I think if I was a manager, I would be using the likes of Hamza Chowdhury. Of course, Ndidi will play, but then Madison will play. But who else is going to be in there? I would put Hamza in. He will be chomping at the bit to play for Leicester City after this coronavirus and lockdown period, because it's a time to impress. And it's a time to go out and show the manager what you can do. And I truly believe, I've coached Hamza. I've known him since he was 10. He's a great lad. He's got so much hunger for the game. And I'm really hoping that he starts these last 9 games, because he really showed people what he can do.
Yeah, so obviously we've got a lot of young players coming through at the moment, and also quite a few young players that have been brought in. So out of those, which of them do you sort of think will make the biggest impact in the rest of the season? Because I think there will be more squad rotation than we're used to, because it's going to be such a condensed season. So sort of who would you be keeping an eye on?
I'm not seeing too many under-23 matches, but so when I answer questions like this, I go off what I remember from when I was at the football club. But as we all know, as in the Jordan Stuart story, things can turn around within 6 months. Keenan Dewsbury Hall, I think he's a top player. He will play for, I know he's already played for the first team, but he will be a top player for Leicester City, without doubt. It sounds a little biased now because I've told you that I work with his dad, but Darnell Johnson is another top player, a leader, but he's very composed. So he's a bit like Wes when he's defending, throwing himself in front of tackles and blocks and things like that. But when he has the ball at his feet, he's a little bit like Soyuncu. He's sort of Cruyff turning on the edge of his own box and playing out. So hopefully he comes through. He's got a lot of talent. Josh Knight, who was on loan at Peterborough, top player. Josh Eppiah, another good player. There's such a good talent pool at Leicester City at the minute. And the coaches that I've worked with and who they've got there at the minute, there's some top coaches. And I'm talking, you've got really talented coaches from the ages of under 10, under 11s. Some of the coaches that I worked with at the time, I thought, wow, these guys are incredible coaches. And they're still at them age groups. They're not moving on because they enjoy the job that they do. You know, sort of moving these youngsters through and trying to enhance the talent. Yeah. So Leicester's in a good place at the minute, and I think you'll see a lot of youngsters throughout the next 5 or 6 years coming through and playing for the first team.
Sounds good. And even sort of with over the last couple of years, we've seen quite a few players like Harvey Barnes coming through and Ben Chilwell coming through and stuff. So we're starting to see sort of the benefits of what's been implemented at the academy.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I've got to take my hat off to him again. A lot of it is, you know, there's 4 people in particular, because these guys don't get a mention very often. John Rudkin. So before he was director of football of the football club, obviously he was director of the academy. Yeah. He played a massive role in sort of mapping the pathways for the Harvey Barnes, the Hamza Chowdhury's, the Ben Chilwells, Matt Pipers even. You know, John Rudkin was my under-11 manager, and because we had such a talented side, you know, me, John Stevenson, Matt Heath, Martin Reeves, Robert Purdy, there was such a talent at that age. He wanted, because what normally happens, these coaches, they take you for a year and then you move on, and then they take the next under 10 group. What John Rudkin wanted to do and fought for was, I want to stay with this group. You know, so he went with us from under 10 to under 11 to under 12 to under 13, and he went all the way through. with us. The other guys that I'll mention is Trevor Peake, who's the youth team manager, brilliant coach, great guy. The under-23 manager, Steve Bigelow, who was my youth team manager. And another guy that not a lot of people hear about a lot, but he's been at the club for over 20 years. He's amazing. He's called Chris Tucker. And Chris Tucker was sort of a friend of my dad years ago. He played local football in Leicester. And what he'd do, he'd train the elite Leicester players at night time, the under-11s, the under-12s, the under-13s. But in the daytime, I'd see him down Abbey Park, working for the council, cutting the grass down Abbey Park on a tractor. So I'd be playing there, and he'd stop the tractor and he'd go, "Oi, Pipes, practice your Cruyff turns," like in the daytime. And then in the nighttime, he'd be training me as an elite coach, and he's gone all the way through as well. And he's like Steve Bigelow's number 2. So amazing times at Leicester I had with some great coaches.
So, you know, oh, sorry, Dan.
No, go on, Neil. Go on.
Yeah, so I'm just saying with the coronavirus and everything, that obviously, I don't know, finance has been hit a lot at the moment, and we've seen that a lot just with every single team. I think Man United came out recently and said they lost 29 million. Is this a chance for all teams just up and down the Premier League to reinforce to move that team from the under-23s to the Premier League? Because these are the players that have been there, and something that I think we've all criticised recently, all Premier League teams have not put as much emphasis on putting these younger players into the Premier League that will potentially be the future of England as well. So I know Frank Lampard's done it. We've done it as well. There's not been too many other teams. Is this an opportunity now for these younger players to step up and really make a name for themselves in the Premier League?
I think so. As I said with Hamza, and going back to myself, I really did. I sat there and I thought, if this happened when I was younger, you know, and it depends what kind of individual you are, because the individual that I am is, my cup is always half full. It's never half empty, my cup. So this could have been a disastrous time if your cup's half empty, because if you're just pushing to get in the first team for the last few games of the season, and then all of a sudden coronavirus hits, oh my God, it was never meant to be. I can't believe it. I'm going to sit and I'm going to mope at home. I'm not going to... If it was me, I'd be outside working on my touch every day. Isolation, working on my touch, working on my shooting, my finishing, my crossing, my passing. I would have been working on everything, because there is going to have to be squad rotation in this games program that is coming up. Because we've got to fit these 92 games into this next 6 weeks, you're going to have to use squad rotation. So for me, if you're a young player, your cup should be half full, and you should be thinking, I'm going to try and force myself into the manager's reckoning, because you're going to get people coming back. Listen, they all looked fit. They did look fit. But me now as a 38-year-old, I'm only 2 years older than Wes Morgan. If I was still playing and this coronavirus happened now, and I was still a Premier League player, I know what I've been like on this lockdown. Like, I get up and I train every morning. I do my 45 minutes because I'm always going to do that, mainly due to the mental health issues we spoke about, because that's what keeps me in a good place. But then when the missus cracks a bottle of Prosecco open and goes, fancy a glass? Yeah, of course. And my missus, unfortunately for me, is a chef. So she's like cooking all these crazy things with all these different sauces and all this kind of stuff in. I think throughout this lockdown, I've put about 1.5 stone on. I think a lot of players will go back. Yeah, they may have been doing bits in the daytime, as in lifting a few weights, but they're not going to have been training at the intensity that they would have been if the Premier League season was still on. And if you're a little bit older, that can harm you very quickly. So the manager will look at the levels of the players and all the backroom staff. They will look at the levels of the players, and they may see that you're not fit enough to play Premier League football. So then they're going to have to look towards the under-23s. Right, who's fit enough? Who's hungry? Who's got the energy? Who wants it? Maybe it is the time for a Keenan Dewsbury Hall, a Josh Knight, a Darnell Johnson.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah, good stuff. So last thing on Project Restart, Matt. Radio Leicester, everything going to be back to normal?
I don't know. To give you an idea of where I'm at the minute, I text Stringer today and I said, are you going to be commentating on the games on your own? Or one thing that I've heard through the BBC is that they might send one 5 Live BBC commentator, and that audio will go out to all the local radio stations. So if it's Conor McNamara and he's commentating for 5 Live, it will also go to BBC Radio Leicester, and if they're playing Watford, to BBC Watford.
Okay.
So that would obviously make my job and Stringer's job and Owen Palmer-Atkins' job null and void. So at the minute, I don't know. I think there's a meeting tomorrow to decide on the way forward they're going to go. But to me, it would make sense to have as little people in the ground as possible.
Yeah.
So for that, I think they will go with maybe the 5 Live commentary.
Okay. Well, obviously you're going to miss the great car journeys that you three seem to go on.
Hey, we have a good time in them car journeys. Hey, I will tell you though, those two, they've got a very good choice of music. They're like their main one is Oasis, and I like Oasis, so I'm fine. But they like Queen, they like Wham, they like obviously Kasabian.
Yeah.
And I like all them kinds of music,
Yeah.
but I'm a kind of guy that will listen to a bit of Dr. Dre, then a bit of Drake, then a bit of Oasis, then a bit of George Michael, then a bit of whoever. They just like their kind of music, and they're the ones in charge because I always sit in the back. I like to sit in the back on the way to games. So they're blasting this music, Stringer's winding the windows down and singing it full pelt out the window. When you're in London and you're stuck in traffic and Stringer's singing full-blown Wham out the window and people are looking at you like you're crazy, then you'll know what my car journeys are like.
The Leicester boys are here in London.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And looking at the future, Matt, see there's a book coming out. Any details we can get on that, when it's coming, etc.?
The book is coming out on the 31st of August. And the book has been the stress of my... The book is very honest. And I put things out there on social media, and a lot of people didn't understand what I was talking about. And so basically what I was trying to say is, I was saying that I'm bringing a book out, and it's been very difficult process for me because how honest should you be? And a lot of people were like, well, if it's not honest, you're not sharing your true thoughts and blah, blah, blah. So what's the point? And sort of kicking back against what I was saying. But basically what I was saying is, when you've been through difficult situations in your life or had difficult relationships or difficult situations to deal with, if I'm very honest remember, it's only my point of view. Yeah. If I'm very honest from my point of view, the other person's point of view might be totally different. So my honesty comes out, and that could throw that other person under the bus. And some of these people that we're talking about, are close family and friends and whatever, but some are more or less global superstars in football. And I had to ask myself, I'm a dad of 4 now. I'm married. I'm happy. I'm trying to live my life in a nice way. Do I want, even though this book's not going to sell lots and lots of copies, I know that, but it will still cause a storm if you throw someone's name in that is very well known. So that was my difficulty to try and contemplate with a few of the stories that I had.
So did you write it yourself, or was it ghostwritten?
No, it was ghostwritten by Joe Bruin, who's a Leicester fan.
Okay.
Joe Bruin's a Leicester fan, and he's deputy editor of 442.
Okay.
So yeah, me and him did about 12 sessions of 4 hours at a time, and it was just me talking like I'm talking to you guys now, but about all the stories and the crazy times. I don't know if I could. Well, maybe it's called. I could tell you what it's called. I think. I don't think I can get in trouble because it's my book. It's called Out of the Darkness. Because as we've spoke about, there's been some tough times in my life, and there's a lot of football in there. From chapter 4 to chapter 16 is all about football.
Okay.
Chapter 16 to chapter 20 is the darkness, and the struggles, and the drinking, and the drug taking. Chapter 1 to 3 is about my family, which is very crazy as well.
Sounds like it's going to be a good read, and no doubt we'll all go out and buy that. So thanks for today, Matt. It's been great. Great having you on. And we wish you all the best for the future. Hope the book goes well. Hope Radio Leicester eventually gets back up and running. And we can hear you and Stringer on the radio again, basically taking the mick out of each other.
That's our speciality. Thanks, James.
No problem.
Thanks, Neel.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problems. Thanks very much.
Take care.
Bye.